I'm Ryan Milliken from Hardway Performance, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
I'm Dimitri Miller with No Zone Diesel.
This is Anthony Range from XDP.
This is Jaron Holder from Holderdown Performance.
Corey Willis from PPEI.
I'm Drew with D&J Precision Machine.
I'm Pinky.
And you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
Diesel Podcast.
You're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
The Diesel Podcast.
The one and only Diesel Podcast.
What is going on, Diesel Nation? We got a really cool podcast for you today. Before we get to it, though, we want to thank our sponsors for this episode. BD Diesel Performance has a really cool sale going on right now. If you've got a Cummins, they've got a 15% off sale, runs through February 28th. Just go to dieselperformance.com and you can search by which generation you have, get set up with a manifold, help slower EGTs, spool your turbo quicker, and they resist cracking and warping like the factory ones do. And for the Ford guys out there, you got to go to spediesel.com. They've got a ton of cool stuff. They've got pedestals for your 6.7 Power Strokes if you want to run an aftermarket turbo, tons of transmission products and options. Give them a call. They're more than happy to chat with you. They do 6.4, 6.7 liter Power Strokes, pretty much anything under the sun. It's spediesel.com. Welcome back to the podcast, Ben. How you been?
Oh, pretty good. And yourself?
Oh, just, staying busy at Black Friday sales and wrapping up the end of year here, get ready for racing season.
Sounds like a plan.
What have you guys been up to there in the shop?
About the same. We got the guys in for their winter refreshes of the engines and try to get be prepared for what the 2018 season's bringing. I'm sure that everybody else is doing the same thing, and it seems like it stair steps up every year, so we're trying to be prepared for that. That's
what I've been thinking about for a while. Is 2016, a lot of cool stuff. 2017 took it even farther. So next year I'm not even gonna venture a guess into how much power trucks are making or how fast they're going. I just want to sit back and watch and see what new stuff comes out.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that when we used to talk a couple of years ago about 1,000 horsepower, and that was the number to be, and that's what guys are driving on the street now. So the 1,000, I think 2,000 is the new or the old 1,000. So everybody's after that number now. So
a topic I wanted to talk with you about is I know you've been involved with your own trucks and other trucks that are in that range or higher, and I've never actually been able to ask a tuner like yourself, someone who's been heavily involved in performance and everything. Does a lot change, say, when you're tuning a 2,200 horsepower truck versus one at 1,000? Or what are some different challenges that you face at those kind of power levels?
I don't know that I would say change. There's just things can't be overlooked when you get up into that, the bigger power ranges, where you can get away with certain things at 800, 900, 1,000 horse. You start adding more heat and pressure and cylinder pressure is a big thing to watch when you get up into the higher horsepower stuff. I've tore up several things with the cylinder pressure gain. But just the margin of error, I guess, would be slimmer. There's not a whole lot of differences as far as making power. But you just things need to be data logged and monitored a lot better, and the premium of parts, the part selection. Once you get up into that higher horsepower stuff, you're probably going to use more one-off stuff or more premium options instead of just getting by with maybe what was on the shelf. But the data logging and capturing data is probably the largest thing that's to keeping a truck like that making that kind of power.
That's kind of what I was thinking is say a bone stock 2007 5.9 rolls into your shop. You've probably already all the parameters, how everything's going to react. You can fine tune it a little bit, but once you throw in tons of fuel and triple turbos and all those different things, the data monitoring's got to be, but like you said, probably key to making or squeezing out every last bit of power out of that motor you can.
It really is, because with like a stock 5.9, like you mentioned, that you can get away with a lot of abuse on that. Them stock turbos, that will just you can beat them to death, and you can even add extra fuel to them. And I'm not saying you're not going to blow up a stock turbo, but if you abuse, say a Hartz or a Columbus turbo that's got a 5-inch exhaust wheel, it's going to come out at you. Whether you've seen LeVon's videos, or I've blew up some stuff, a lot of stuff I should say. It's just turbo speed, and a more detailed piece like that is just have to keep the parameters within spec.
On the tuning side, with those big power trucks, and I've never really gone this far into this thought is it mostly the hard parts that are making the power? Is it half and half tuning and hard parts? Is it what's the relationship between the actual hard parts on the truck and then what you're able to do electronically with it?
Well, a lot of the hard parts, I said that it was key to have good hard parts. And as far as, bottom end or even, long block stuff, it's a lot of what you can buy, on a day-to-day use, your D&J, your Wagglers, your Freedom Race engines, D&J connecting rods are a good option. The Carrillos, the Waggler, those are, kind of the what I consider the premium options. When you get to the higher horsepower stuff, you're not going to talk about a cast piston. You're going to talk about the D&J, the Diamond, the Ross piston selection, the Forge, and most, some guys are going to a steel land, and some aren't. But I guess that's what I meant by the premium selection. And these parts can be purchased off the shelf, but it's just the key to get all the right parts in the right combination. Because if you mismatch or shortchange one, the 140 pounds of boost or the Wild EGTs is going to show you what you didn't spend the money on.
Right, so it probably gives you more freedom then when you're sitting down with one of these trucks and got them on the dyno, what you can do or how far you can push it.
Right, and you hear a lot of tuners that speak about not caring or worrying about EGTs, and that to a certain degree I kind of agree there, but when you get up making a bunch of cylinder pressure and you got tons of air and a lot of fuel, EGT to me is very important, especially on these sled pull trucks. Limited air. If we got a truck that's real hot on the exhaust side, that tells me that something's not jiving the way it should be, because when we engine dyno these motors, we are able to keep EGTs in check. So if something's out, that tells anytime that one of my customers send me a data log, and the EGT's higher or lower, I'll ask, what did you do different? What was the scenario? I'll watch videos, and usually I try to get that EGT back within where we was on the engine dyno, because that tells me where it wants to run prime.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there a spot you like to keep them in, say for EGT ranges?
Oh, it depends on the whether drag race or sled pull. I like to see, I don't like to see much over 1600.
We get a lot of questions or like comments on YouTube or Facebook with these podcasts, and people will ask, well, what EGT should I be at, or what ranges, what's too high, what's too low, those sorts of things, and all the trucks you've been involved with and things you've done with your personal trucks. I figure no one better to ask than Ben Shadday.
And when I say that 1600 range, that doesn't mean take your stock truck and run it 1600 degrees from 20 miles from town to town, because you're more than likely you're going to be looking for a motor. But our 1600 degrees is 8 seconds, or sled pull track 7, 8, 10 seconds. So I'm not saying it's a continuous, but that's usually the area we shoot for.
We talked about 2018 a little bit. What are some things, say some new things you guys are going to be doing at Done Right Diesel, or new products, or just things you guys are working on?
We have a 2018 Ram we just picked up from the dealer, doing some emissions on testing now. It's going good. We're in the bone stock cow form. It dynoed 334 horse, and I have it at like 403 horsepower now. We've been we've been making Facebook posts as well. You know, we added an S&D intake and dynoed it, and then I added a little bit of power through the calibration. And we're currently at 403 horse. It's like 1,064, I believe, on the torque. I could be wrong there, but I know it was 60 horsepower over stock and 111 foot-pounds. And I've recently put about 2,000 miles on that calibration, and the DEF usage is same as stock, so we haven't decreased DEF usage. But then the regens are the same as stock as well. So I don't know if we can say that's considered a win in my book, because we had 60 horsepower and 111 foot-pounds torque more than it came with, which makes it a ball to drive.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't decreased any emissions, you know, or decreased any DEF fluid usage or regens. But we still have more power. So I don't know if that's considered a win. I'm working on not using as much DEF and you know, cutting down regens, but we are trying to stay compliant with this. Once we get to where I feel like it's a max power, we are going to do some emissions testing with it to make sure we're within specs. So that's something that, you know, it's no doubt in my mind I can make a lot more power, but to not be burning up DPF filters or ammonia sensors or something, I'm going to try to creep up on it and make sure that we're still in compliant.
That's really cool, because, you know, the Ram, the Cummins platform is so popular, and you know, you guys put in so much work early on to make sure, like you said, with making sure everything is working fine, putting some miles on it. I'm sure you know, pull a trailer with it or something, take it, you know, on a road trip or something, and you know, as customers, they have, it's not guesswork when they buy a tune. You know, you've already put in all the work and you know, dotted the I's and crossed the T's on it.
And it's just that, you know, I mean, it's you think about, like I said, there's no doubt in my mind I can put 475 or 460 horsepower at that tire, but you know, are we talking about just DEF usage through the roof, or, you know, or are we going to start plugging filters? I know the last thing that I want on my $60,000 truck is to plug a filter after I put a tuner on it. And
Right.
More than likely, we're probably not going to be first to market on this. You know, it's because I'm not even necessarily shipping anything on this. But here again, you know, it's first to market. I don't know that that's ever, on this current situation, I don't know that that's ever a better thing to say, is I'm first to market. So I want to see the guy. You know, I want to be the guy that's thoroughly tested the operation of theory and can knowingly hand you a product that's not going to hurt the pickup truck.
We had a podcast recently where Ryan Gelinas and I were talking about that first to market, and you know, I asked him why aren't more companies first to market, or who is first to market, and one of the things he talked about was just taking the time to, you know, design the product or make it, to test it, to verify it, to make sure it works on different, you know, trucks or you know, just different things. So there's no guesswork when it comes out, and that's the sign of a quality product. You know, whether it's tuning or turbo or an engine or transmission or whatever it is.
Right, and I agree with that. You know, you can, like I said before, you can race a product to market, but it can also race itself into the ground too if it doesn't work. You know, you might get a bunch of initial sales, but as soon as things start to fail, in the way that the world is today with social media, it won't take long for that product to tell on itself.
No, not at all. Not at all. Now for racing, do you got some big plans this year or next year?
We do. I actually am involved with a Super Street truck in Arizona. The guys owned SSR Diesel, Mark and Fred. Great guys. We recently engine dynoed their engine here, and they took it back to install in the truck. So they'll be running the NHRDA circuit. And then for our own stuff, I have my two-wheel drive truck back, and it's going from Pro Street to Pro Mod trim, and it's actually in the body shop right now getting painted. So the engine's over at Freedom Racing Engines in Brownsburg, Indiana. It's supposed to be wrapped up hopefully by the end of next week, and we put that thing on a diet. Fleece, Tony Durhammer at Fleece did all the chassis work and hung the fiberglass body for us. So we went from 4,500 pounds to 3,600.
Wow.
So and then we went away from the Chrysler Trans, the 48RE, we went to a Turbo 400 setup. So pretty excited about that, ready to get it back on the track. I kind of did the race, and then we jumped the sled pull for a little while, and now we're back home where we belong. And I think it's going to be a pretty exciting year.
It is. I'm excited to see what you guys do, with the truck, and hopefully I can catch it in person. That'd really be cool.
We plan to be out there. I don't think we're on. Of course, we're going to support the ODSS circuit, but we're going to do some stuff around home, just for some locals that's always asking, when we're going to be around, and then we'll probably shoot out west a little bit and maybe hit one of Randy's NHRDA or a couple of them, if time allows it. So
it's always cool to see the trucks you guys are working on when we talk in the winter, and then seeing them in the spring and summer, and the idea came to life.
Seeing the final product and see how much gray hair I got left.
It seems like each year I get a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more.
Oh yeah, I guess it's not falling out, but it is getting pretty gray.
What was that now with the Turbo 400? Why'd you go with that route?
Well, we did the 48 game for a while, and it was just like we always had two. You had one in the truck and one in the trailer, and it seemed like that you go to an event and you were always swapping, and there was just a lot of fun being taken out of the sport by just the amount of time and money that it took to keep a 48 in there. I know some other guys. Michael Dalton is still running a 48, and I think that he's been working with Suncoast quite a bit on that. And I think they're getting, where it's better. I don't know that it's a solution, but we chose Rosler out of Ohio, and it's the Turbo 400, their Pro Mod version, which you see a lot in if you watch the Street Outlaws, a lot of the guys are running the Rosler Pro Mod trans. And then we selected a Neil Chance torque converter. And it's kind of stuff that, I know there's some other people looking into it now. I believe Suncoast has actually got their own version coming up through the works here. And, just because where we were on torque converters in the diesel community, was quite a bit different than what the gas guys have been doing. And, you and I both know the gas guys have had things figured out for a long time now.
Yeah.
So we were trying to focus on, hey, these guys go down the track, these gas guys go down the track every weekend. Like if they get a buy run, they don't bump the beams and back out like we do. They take a buy run and try to make their car better. So, I wanted that reliability in my truck, that when I was cutting loose of the trans brake, that we're going to make a full pass and we're going to come back and stick a fan in front of it, stand around and talk until we go again.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the reason the decision was made there to go with that high profile Turbo 400.
That's the part that really interests me is, I think, and you know this better than I do, but, at 1,000 horse or 1,200 or 1,300, you can have a 48 RE hold it, but you guys are pushing the power so much farther now. And there's that link, like you mentioned, with the gas guys who've been doing this, 20, 30, 40 more years, where they've got solutions, or at least can say expand the horizons of what, diesel's doing and how to possibly do it or go faster or have it hold up.
Right. And, when I said the efficiency of our converters, with the way it used to be, or the way it it's not as much as it is now, but the only thing that we were always relying on was lockup. We would launch the truck, and within 60 feet, some guys were locked up. But I know some other companies are working on some pretty efficient converters now, and we don't plan to even run lockup in our truck. So that shows you how quickly or how far converter technology has come along, to not even be talking about using a lockup clutch. That it's so efficient that you can let it do its thing without having to rely on locking, the input and the output shaft as one. So
it really is, yeah, because it's always been, it was lock up. When do I lock it? All those sorts of things in the diesel world we've been thinking about.
Right. And that's like the industrial, the Delectus truck. I believe his last 850 pass, they were running on a new prototype converter from Suncoast, and it was a non-lockup converter. So if you can kind of do the math on that 6,000 pounds 850 to 167. That's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, I can imagine a lot of this. A lot of these things, we're going to change the times this year, and what's happening out there. And man, I'm pumped up for it.
Yeah, it should be a really cool year.
Where's the best place, for our listeners out there to check out the progress of your truck and maybe, see videos and stuff, this upcoming season of what you guys are doing with it?
This is kind of the first time I've really talked about it, publicly. As far as, around the shop, all my guys know and my racing buddies know. But we should have it back here in a couple weeks from the body shop, and we plan on doing. We've taken pictures all along the way and have some timeline stuff, but I haven't necessarily posted anything. But that's going to change here in the next couple, probably right after the first of the year.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm sure people want to see it and see it in action and everything. We'll have to do a follow-up. We'll have to check in with you, once you get it out there and get it dialed in and everything, and give us some more feedback and what some of these changes have done, for the sport and for you guys and what you're trying to do. Absolutely.
We'd be glad to do that.
Well, definitely appreciate your time today, Ben. It's always cool chatting with you, hearing what you got going on and new things you're trying. And we'll be chatting here pretty soon.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, Diesel fans, don't forget, if you're in the market for a Cummins exhaust manifold, head on over to dieselperformance.com. BD Diesel's got a really cool sale going on. It's 15% off until February 28th. So if you're looking to replace a factory manifold or doing a turbo swap, it's a great addition, really easy to bolt on, get a little bit more performance out of it. And for the Power Stroke fans out there, go to spediesel.com. Got tons of transmission stuff, turbo kits, tuning, anything you want for your 6.4, 6.7 Power Stroke, they've got it. Until next time, keep the shiny side up.